and I won't back down. Hey, baby, there ain't no easy way out.
Hey, everybody. Thanks so much for joining us right here on The Right View Ladies Tea. Got some new ladies tonight. We're very excited. But before we get started, I'd love to tell you about one of our sponsors, Swiss America. Our country's facing so many problems these days under Joe Biden. The last thing any of us need is more to worry about. Unfortunately, we now have to fear losing our freedom and privacy with the Democrats' new push for a digital dollar that could allow the government to tell us what we can and cannot buy with our own hard-earned money. That's why I'm encouraging every one of you tuning into the show right now to get The Secret War on Cash, an insightful report created by my friends at Swiss America. With this report, you'll learn how to protect yourself from the threats facing our freedom and your hard-earned money. The report is available right now to my listeners free of charge. Just call 1-800-289-2646 or visit www.swissamerica.com/Trump for your free report. We've got some good tea tonight and some new ladies. We are joined, and we're very excited to have them, by commentary and analysis writer at the Daily Caller, Mary Rooke, as well as attorney and political commentator, Mehek Cooke. Rooke and Cooke, we got a tag team. We got a real duo tonight, ladies. Thank you both for joining us. There's so much to talk about, but I think the thing everyone is obviously obsessed over and obsessed with, the 2024 election and the polling that we continue to see out there as it relates to Donald Trump and Joe Biden. There was a lot of question, Mehek, about post-verdict being read of Donald Trump. What would happen with the polls? We saw the huge fundraising haul. We got in 48 hours post-conviction. There were $70 million in small dollar donations raised. 30% of that money came from people who had never before donated to Donald Trump ever. And it just means people got it. They were sick of the nonsense. They want to vote for this man, and they're showing their support by way of donations. But then a lot of people said, well, wait a minute, that really doesn't mean much. What about the polls? Let me tell you a little bit about the polling. Just the 2 days, I think, after the verdict was read, a Reuters Ipsos poll had Trump at 41 and Biden at 39. That was just immediately after the verdict. So they said, well, wait, maybe this is just a slight bump. However, 10 days later, even if you add in a third-party candidate, Donald Trump is still holding that 2-point lead over Joe Biden. And let me remind people of something else. This same day, this poll was conducted in 2020, Joe Biden led Donald Trump by 8.4 points, okay? In 2016, on the exact same day, Hillary Clinton led Donald Trump by 5.5 points. So, Mehek, it doesn't seem like the strategy that clearly was at hand here of painting Donald Trump as this horrible person, keeping him in a courtroom in downtown Manhattan instead of out on the campaign trail, smearing him in every way possible and saying, if we get a conviction on this guy, voters are going to write him off. They're going to say, I can't vote for Donald Trump after this conviction. I don't think it worked. What are you hearing out there, Mehek?
Laura, I agree with you. This was the biggest backfire of politics and lawfare. And look, what Americans want is they want a winner. We are so tired of losers today. And Joe Biden is a loser. He is a loser on the economy. Look, we're all getting taxed 20%. You go and buy diapers, go and buy gas, groceries, you name it. We have a Biden tax that is 20%. Our 401ks no longer exist for many Americans. Our bank accounts are lower. So lawfare was never going to work. And to keep President Trump locked up in an icebox in New York City, all he did was continue to campaign with great people like you from the family, surrogates. And then the American people saw what's happening. If this can happen to President Trump, the greatest president in my lifetime, it can happen to any single American.
Yeah, and that is the scary part, Mary. I think a lot of Americans looked at this and they said, this is not the country that we want to live in. If this is what they're going to do to a guy like Donald Trump, think about what they could do to me. Think about what this means, what kind of precedent this would set for the rest of, the country. This is terrible stuff. And it's funny because even though Donald Trump was literally having to defend himself in a courtroom for this sham show trial, this total clown show, he still running on the offense. I think that's the vibe everybody has right now around the country. It doesn't matter that they're trying these communist tactics, these third world attempts to take him down. He's still on offense, and Joe Biden and the Biden campaign are very, very clearly on defense. Listen to somebody talking about exactly what is going on. This is in an article I read. Somebody said, as someone who has closely watched presidential races going back to 1984, as things stand right now, and putting polling aside even, Trump is running like a winner, looking like a winner, and winning. Meanwhile, Biden is shuffling like a loser, looking like a loser, and losing. Things could change on a dime, but as of today, the Biden campaign has all the tells of an incumbent who is about to lose. They are on defense, they are defensive, desperate, and have no core message. Trump has a core message and rationale for why he's running for president. Joe Biden does not. He's flailing in searching of one, something, anything that will stick. That is why Trump is beating Biden in all the polling.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And honestly, I read this really great informative piece from the Des Moines Register out in Iowa. It has Trump up by almost 20 points. He's polling at 50%, where Biden is polling at 32%. Biden's approval rating in Iowa is only 15%.
Wow.
Where 76% of, and this is among young voters aged 18 to 34. So this is normally, the Democrats' bread and butter. They get those kids right out of college and they say, let me see what I can get for you. Let me see the free things I can get for you. And then it really kind of draws these voters in, and they talk about social policies and all these kinds of things. And these are the policies that are not sitting with these voters well. They're not identifying, because they're coming out of college and they can't buy a home. They can't start their lives anymore. And so it's perpetuating their, young adulthood when they want to become a proper American adult. And the other thing I read in there, which was really great, this guy named Donald Sherry, he's a 63-year-old voter in Iowa. And he said that Trump's conviction solidified his vote for the president.
Wow.
So it was, the lawfare going against him, and not to mention the fact that he said it was his economic policies and the fact that he just doesn't take any crap from anyone. He takes it on the chin, he moves on, and he states his policies in a way that he understands. And there was another, Charlemagne the God talked about this earlier, where he says that, Biden and the Democrats are not speaking to voters. And I thought that really was such an interesting point, considering the fact that you've got Biden being led off stage. He never knows where he is. And it's like, of course, his incoherentness is making this all impossible for voters to want to jump on board of the Democratic Party.
Yeah. And by the way, ladies, I love comments. I go to the comments of every article I read, and I always want to see, that's where I get the vibe of like, where's the general public on this? I go to the comments, by the way, one of my favorite places to go for comments is under the White House Instagram. So I still follow the White House Instagram. Clearly I did for 4 years when my father-in-law was president, but I still have it on there. And I'm always like, let me just see what's going on here. So they'll post something really dumb, like on Father's Day, where they had this whole pride message that they threw out there. All the comments underneath, I struggle to find anything positive that is ever posted under the White House Instagram post. Everything is people like, you guys suck. We can't wait to see you out of here. You guys are so off message. But here was a comment on this whole lawfare situation of Donald Trump that I thought was amazing on one of these articles I read. Somebody said, reminds me of my cousin Vinny, when the kid who has the public defender realizes how bad he is and drops him for cousin Vinny. That is what will happen in November when voters drop Magoo. I guess Joe Biden, obviously. But that's sort of it. Like, once people see what's going on and realize that they've been sort of like taken and bamboozled, so to speak, like they're sort of just done with all of this stuff. It's been interesting, Mehek, because I spent a lot of last week in the great state of Michigan. I went on Wednesday of last week and spoke to Macomb County, which is the county, if people recall, in 2016, that Donald Trump flipped from blue to red and allowed him ultimately to win the state of Michigan as a Republican, which was obviously something that hadn't happened in a very long time. I went and spoke at a Lincoln Day dinner. Thank you, Macomb County Republicans, for having me. I went back on Friday because the chairman of the RNC, Michael Whatley, and I have announced that we want to have 100,000 election integrity team members. These are volunteers across the country for this election season We are focused 100% on making sure we have a free, fair, and transparent election. And so we had our first big, massive training of our election integrity program in Michigan on Friday. So Michael Whatley and I showed up, and we had a little, pull aside with press. We allowed press in there. We gave some statements at the beginning. And the funniest thing to me was to see the response from the Democrats in Michigan. And I'm just going to read to you. There was an article written, and I'm just going to very quickly read to you what the Michigan Democrat chair had to say. Mind you, I want every single person, when they go to vote, I don't care if you're a Republican, a Democrat, or independent, to feel like your vote counts and like your vote matters. It is our civic duty as Americans to go vote in our elections, from President of the United States all the way down the ticket to your local school boards. Everything matters. And I want every person to feel comfortable going out to vote. I am not doing anything other than making it free, fair, and transparent alongside the chairman, Michael Whatley. That's the whole goal of all of this. We want poll watchers and poll workers and people who are there to observe and make everybody feel very good about their vote. Here's the response the Democrats have. This is what happens when you say, hey, we want more transparency in our elections. Here's what this woman said, I think woman. Unfortunately, today's press conference makes it clear that MAGA extremists will continue to do everything in their power to silence voters in Detroit, especially if they're Black. What? Okay. These extremists are not just a disgrace. They're an active threat to our democracy and our way of life here in Michigan. Mehek, they have literally nothing that they can run on because their candidate is terrible with Joe Biden at the top. Their policies have made life so much harder for people in this country. And I guess the play is, when in doubt, pull out the race card, trying to make it harder for Black people in Detroit to vote? Absolutely not. That is the most ridiculous statement and throwaway, we have nothing to say statement I have ever personally heard. I hope the Democrats have something a little better than that as we head towards November, because if that is their argument, Mehek, I don't think they are doing themselves any favors. And in fact, we have seen a huge shift, specifically with Black voters coming over to the Republican side of the ticket. Donald Trump right now is polling at 23% with Black voters. In 2020, he won 8% of the Black vote. I think they are fully panicked on the Democrat side, and they're just throwing Hail Marys already here in June, Mehek. How are they going to continue to carry this to November 5th? Will that work for them?
Laura, you've nailed it. They are on full panic mode. So they're going to continue to say we're racist. And remember, MAGA, Make America Great Again, suddenly everybody who wants to make our country great, we're racist. This is what's demonizing Americans. It's Joe Biden's America. It has failed. It is racist, and it's demonizing people that truly want a traditional nuclear family, believe in God, believe in free and fair elections, which the Democrats do not want transparency. I applaud what you and Chairman Whatley are doing together. I think this is so important. We have 11 to 12 million illegal immigrants into our country that are getting some sort of authorization to come in. They're getting documented. Who's checking to see if they're U.S. citizens? We have an unequal application of the law in every single state based on voting rights. And then on top of that, you layer that with calling us racist. Look, people, I'll tell you for a fact, they have said that over and over again. Biden's song, We Shall Overcome, every 4 years that he goes around and tries to get, he literally props up Black people to say, I've done a good job. They're not buying it. They're tired of his lies. They're business owners that are saying, you have lied to us repeatedly, and you're giving more to illegal immigrants than our families. They're done. Charlemagne the God said it best. Just talk plainly, but they have nothing to say. So they're going to throw the race card, they're going to talk in circles, and they're going to lose this election.
I couldn't agree more, Mary. The only reason I could imagine anybody not wanting more transparency in an election is if you are indeed planning to cheat. And they also got very upset because last week I made a statement, and I will go ahead and say it again, and I'll say it every day from now until November 5th until everybody gets it. If you are a person who is going to cheat in an election, we will find you. We will track you down and we will prosecute you to the full extent of the law. That was a very upsetting statement, Mary, that apparently I threw out there. If you are not a person intending to cheat, then what's the problem? I can't rationalize any other thing other than that these people who are very upset about our election integrity push to try and make everybody feel good and like their vote counts. Again, I'll say it again, including independents and Democrats, not just Republicans. I can only assume you're upset because you want to cheat. I don't know what to make of it, Mary.
Yeah, this actually hits on two great documentaries we put out this year for the Daily Caller. One was Rigged, Death of the American Voter, and it goes through all of the election issues in 2020 and how it woke up a lot of American voters to it's not even just about the tabulation machines. It's about the money that was funneled in to be able to get all of the the ballot boxes that were not being watched, all of this stuff. And so for you to come in as the head of the RNC or, as the vice chair, to come in and say, hey, listen, guess what? We're going to make this different. We're going to ensure that these issues that everybody around America is worried about. I mean, I haven't talked to a single Republican voter in the past 3 years that hasn't said, okay, that's great that Trump is running again, but what do we do about ensuring they don't steal the 2024 election? It is the top priority especially for Republican voters, but there are Democrat voters in my family that I know for a fact come and whisper to me in my ear and say, yeah, but the Democrats were able to take it in 2020. What makes you think the Republicans are going to be able to overcome that in 2024?
Oh, they even know. They know.
They
Mary.
know. Exactly. They know. And it's one of those things where it was like the best kept secret for a very long time, but they overplayed their hand in 2020. And now that you're coming on the offensive about it, they're like, wait, no, Republicans aren't allowed to do anything about it. They're just supposed to sit back and get punched in the face 1,000 times. Yeah. And it's great. It's great to see the momentum. It's great to see that things are, the main issue for voters is getting addressed right now. And just ignore it. That's how I feel. Just ignore it and keep on pushing, because the second we start backtracking on those types of things, the second they know they won and they can continue to do it. I mean, Ken Paxton down here in Texas, he was stripped of all of his rights to be able to go against all these voter fraud. He had over 900 cases here, and the House of Representatives, and we all know the sham impeachment trial that he had to endure and all of those things. They stripped him of his rights to be able to accurately go into all these cases and try them and make sure these people were held accountable. And now he's coming out going, okay, the best thing that you can help me do here in Texas, let me go after these cases, because they're up to the local DAs now, and there's not a single case being tried in court anymore. So we have to give Republicans in power the ability and the power to be able to go after these election fraud issues. And then we also have to stand up like you're doing right now and just say, I don't care what you have to say against me. We're going to continue to, go after these people that are trying to ruin the integrity of our election system. It's the most important thing that we have here. And it's the thing that makes us America, that we can trust what happens on election day. And for the past couple of years, I can't say that Americans feel that way.
It's amazing too to me, because whenever I do any sort of interview, televised, whatever it might be, with a left-leaning outlet, they love to seize on this. And here's what they say. They go, well, but you guys have no proof. There was never any proof that the 2020 election was stolen. First of all, let me just start from the very beginning. All of the lawsuits that we unfortunately had to put forward very last minute, very hastily, were not dismissed because there was no merit to them. They were dismissed on clerical errors. And I assume it's because a lot of these different precincts, these districts are very heavily Democrat. And they found, where we didn't put a colon instead of a semicolon or whatever it was. And they said, oh, we got to this is negated. We're not even going to look at this now. And I would argue that even if you say that there is no physical proof, the fact that you have half of the country, to your point, Mary, where you say everybody you talk to says this, what about the cheating? What are you going to do about the cheating? Or I think you said that. Maybe you said your family. That is a problem. We can't live in a country where half of the electorate does not feel like their vote matters and their vote counts because they feel like the other side will cheat. We should be trying to do everything in our power to ensure transparency. And that is exactly what I'm doing. So trust me, I will never stop fighting for this. If they thought they were going to bully me into anything, you got the wrong one. Here's what they did. They actually prepared all of us in the Trump family for right now. Because from the day my father-in-law came down that golden escalator in 2015, they went on the attack. Man, we got punched in the face from the very beginning. They've been punching us so hard that we have so many calluses, you can't punch hard enough. You'll never stop us. I'm never going to stop this effort because I think it is so important. It's important for this election. It's important for the future of this country. And so, yeah, we're going to stay on the offensive on this because I think it is vital to the future of this country. It's just amazing because they always have the same play. Oh, well, there's no proof. 81 million people were not so inspired by a guy that campaigned out of his basement and could barely string a couple of sentences coherently together that they came out in the most historic fashion to vote for him. I don't think even the Democrats buy that. So I digress. I think what we did see last week is that we are unifying as a party. You saw Donald Trump go to the Capitol. He met with all of these Republican senators. They showed unity. They showed a united front. And Mehek, I think it's exactly what we need to see right now. This is a party that is coming together. We are not fractured. We're not fighting on all the nonsense over here. We're focused on the task at hand. And here's what my father-in-law said whenever he came out of that meeting with the senators. He said, this is an outstanding group of people. I'm with them 1,000%. They're with me 1,000%. We agree just about on everything. And if there isn't, we work it out. And I've had a really great relationship with just about everybody here, just about all of the senators. And if it wasn't fantastic, it gets worked out. We have one thing in mind, and that's making our country great. We're focused as a party. That was the message from Donald Trump. He's unifying this party. And even people who were in that room with him, Mehek, who maybe in the past had taken issue with things Donald Trump did, I'll say very nicely, who he may have had some confrontations with at other times, they're all coming together because they realize how important this election is and that we cannot play any games. We can't have any fracture in our party. This was such a great move and such a great message, I think, to send out there to the country. This party is unified and we're focusing on one thing, winning in November and making this country great again. I loved it.
Look, Congress can't do their jobs if President Trump does not get elected. That's just the bottom line. And what we want as winners is we want a party that unifies. And here's some facts. The Republican Party is unified from the bottom all the way to the top. And what the Democrats are doing is, and big bias media, mainstream media is going out there and they're trying to undermine our unity. They're trying to push and dispirit us. They're trying to beat us down. They're trying to undermine everything we're doing. They broke our system. They broke our economy. They broke our democracy, and we have to fight back even harder to fix it. And yes, there were some individuals that weren't for former President Donald Trump. I call him my president still, President Donald Trump. But this is the fact. They know that if you are a party for freedom, if you want prosperity, if you want to live the American dream, you lived it under Biden. It doesn't exist. We have to change the way that we come at problems. We have to be solution oriented because this is an opportunity for the rest of our lives. It's not just President Trump's term, it's legacy building. We have a national security crisis. We're going to have a terror attack. Mark my words, it's going to happen because Biden has opened a border. What President Trump has done is continue to unify not only Republicans, I'm seeing independents and the Democrat base leave in droves, Hispanic, Black Americans, Asians. So it's not just the Republican Party today, Lara. It is the American Party that are freedom fighters. They're lovers of Donald Trump, and they're going to continue to vote for him.
All right, if you suffer from chronic pain, listen up. Here's a way to help you get real relief. As a fitness fanatic, I understand that recovery is just as important as the workout itself. But whether you're recovering from an injury or just looking for everyday relief from pain in your joints and muscles, nerve pain, fibrosis, and inflammation, I recommend Golden Revive Plus from Up Wellness. This advanced all-natural formula combines 6 powerful anti-inflammatory ingredients, including a proprietary turmeric extract that's 200 times stronger than raw turmeric. All of this to address the root cause of your pain, reducing scarring, swelling, and tissue damage using the healing powers of nature to help your body heal itself. Formulated by husband and wife team doctors Josh and Amanda Levitt, Golden Revive Plus gives you real pain relief and better range of motion, plus better heart, eye, and brain health. Join the over 300,000 Americans who are already using Golden Revive Plus to get and stay pain-free. For a limited time, you can try Golden Revive Plus for 30% off at goldenrevive.com. Just use promo code Trump at checkout. All right, I really want to share with you a new company called Googie Pet. Googie Pet is a total game changer for dogs. Pet owners care deeply about our pets because they're members of our family. I've introduced my dogs to Googie Pet all natural vitamin chews, and not only do they think they're getting an extra treat, but I know I'm doing something great for their health and longevity. Big brands often put profits before our pets' health, but Googie Pet is different. It started with 3 dog-loving brothers on a mission. Partnering with a PhD animal nutritionist, they created Googie Pet, a family-owned business producing dog vitamin chews that are made in the USA. With Googie Pet, every ingredient has one purpose: to help improve the health and happiness of our dogs. The Googie Pet 10-in-1 multivitamin chews not only improve their joint flexibility, energy levels, and gut health, but also make their coats softer and shinier than ever. Googie Pet's hemp calming chews naturally ease anxiety, making dogs calmer, happier, and healthier. I'm so passionate about improving the health of dogs like mine that I've secured a special 40% discount offer for you. Go to googiepet.com/Lara Trump and it will redirect you to buy on Amazon. Use code Lara Trump at checkout for 40% off. That's googiepet.com/Lara Trump and use code Lara Trump at checkout. Yeah, we have a great opportunity. I love that point, Mehek, right now. And I think our opportunity is sort of a couple pronged, right? We obviously need to reelect Donald Trump at the top of the ticket. We have a real chance to pick up like 9 Senate seats across this country. Yeah. We need to win back the Senate. And we need to expand our lead in the House because Donald Trump can't do it alone. It's great to have him at the top of the ticket. Obviously, we have to get him back in that White House. But we're working on all fronts. And I want people out there to pay very close attention to all of these races. Look at who is running in your state. Look at who is running in your districts. Make sure you inform yourself on these people and you know who you're going to go vote for, because we have to do this. It doesn't just mean voting for Donald Trump. Look all the way down. Make sure you're voting all the way down the ticket. But something you said, Mehek, I think is so spot on when you talk about the failure at the southern border. I thought Joe Biden announced he's all of a sudden going to do something about the border. It doesn't seem like much has changed. Obviously, we know, Mary, this is just a play to get votes, because whenever you talk to voters in the primaries, this was their number one concern, was the southern border, followed closely by, of course, the abysmal economy. Last week, we had 8 men with suspected ties to ISIS arrested in New York, Los Angeles, and Philly. These men were from Tajikistan. This is northwest of Afghanistan. Apparently, when they crossed the border, though, they had some sort of a background check that came back clean, despite the fact that they were on the FBI's Joint Terrorism Task Force radar. One of these people used, remember that app Joe Biden set up so that you could come in here even more easily as an illegal immigrant? One of them even used that app. And I say it all the time. We know that we have had somewhere in the last fiscal year of close to 300 people on the terror watch list cross our southern border. Those are the ones, Mary, we caught, right? All it takes is one person with bad intentions and a plan to hurt Americans. And Mehek is exactly right, Mary. We are going to see a terrorist attack on American soil. It is the thing I think about all the time. It is very scary to me. I currently am in New York. I'm just outside of the city, but I go into the city all the time. I have 2 young kids. Heck, we remember, those of us old enough to remember 9/11, remember that feeling. And I never want to see it happen again in America. Right now, it feels like we are just waiting for the next shoe to drop, because I'll tell you what, how is it possible to have these people just pouring into our country? You catch some of them, you can't catch all of them, Mary. And I think it is only a matter of time, as Mehek said, until we see something really horrific happen in this country.
Yeah, I mean, if you follow border reporters like Jenny Taylor from the New York Post or Bill Melugin from Fox News, you kind of see the reality of what's going on at the border. First of all, we know that at least 2 million people have crossed the southern border unmarked by ICE. So that means that they're not being caught, they're not being detained, they're not being fingerprinted. The U.S. government has no idea where they are, and they're in the intern of the United States. On top of that, Bill Melugin reported the other day that he got a memo from inside ICE, which essentially says that all of these people, although Biden is saying, oh, I'm stopping illegal immigration, I've got this executive order and all that stuff, that it absolutely means nothing. Exactly. Yeah. It's just mass and release all over again. So we have these people that are coming in, and I thought Melugin said something really great here. He said, it's not like these terrorist countries are contacting the United States and saying, by the way, those 20 people you caught in the group of 300, this is what they've done over here. They've been helping us plant bombs at this place. They've been helping us, create terrorist vests in this place. They're not going to help America's security out. And so, of course, their profiles are going to come back clean, because these countries are sitting there in mass chanting death to America, I hate America. And they're going to want these attacks to happen, and they're going to sit back and laugh when they do, because essentially what Joe Biden has done is made America come closer to World War III, come closer to a terrorist attack. He's made us unsafe to levels that our generation have never seen before. I mean, I remember 9/11, like you said. It was such a shocking thing. I remember my sister being in New York at the time. It was really scary for an entire family. We're left on the edge of our seats wondering if she's okay, if everyone there is doing okay. And there was this sense of pride to be an American again. You really wanted to go out and fight and help and do all of these things. And then, boys from my hometown were sent overseas to come back, half a man. And now you have the senators from the Select Service Committee come back and say that they want to send American women out and, create them and put them into the draft. It's all of these crazy, you never thought would happen scenarios are all happening under Biden. And you have to sit back as an American and go, I'm sorry, I could care less about abortion. I could care less about all these other things. I want a great economy. I want strong borders. I want to make sure my girls don't die in foreign wars. I mean, it's really just that simple. And I think that you're seeing that in the polling. That's the reason why Trump is up in so many states. I mean, even in Michigan, he's within the margin of error. Wisconsin, he's within the margin of error. These are big, huge deals. I think the thing about the Senate that y'all talked about earlier is that we have the chance to pick up 8 or 9 seats. And really, the Democrats are only playing about 2. And those are in deep red states. We're talking about Senator Ted Cruz's seat in Texas and Rick Scott's seat in Florida. Those seats are not flipping to Democrats. Those seats are going to stay red. So the best the Democrats have to offer is to keep their incumbents. And now I did read a thing this morning that was kind of not shocking, but eye-opening in the sense that these incumbents, although Biden is polling terribly and is doing so bad, these incumbents in these Senate Democrat races are actually polling way better than Biden. So I think the message needs to get out about how it's not just Biden being feeble and being incoherent and all these things, but the Democrats are then serving essentially as the president. So everything that you're seeing under Biden is, 1, because he can't stop it mentally, and 2, because the far left of the Democrat Party are pushing all of these policies through.
It's full of craziness, all of it. And inversely, Donald Trump actually polls much higher than a lot of the House and Senate races, the Republican candidates in these races. And obviously the hope is, and what typically happens is that a rising tide lifts all ships, that he's going to pull those people and he's going to help down ballot races, because hopefully when people go in to vote, they say, oh, let me just go ahead and fill out, Republican all the way down the ticket. He will generally help our side, but Joe Biden is literally like an anchor around the neck of his party, just dragging them straight down. Yeah. We're talking obviously about the border and about the fact that these guys, Mehek, who were caught, these 8 men, were suspected members of ISIS. Let me remind everybody of something. ISIS was all but eradicated when Donald Trump was president of the United States. The fact that we are now talking about ISIS coming back into the picture, again becoming a problem as a terrorist organization, should signal to you that something has gone awry with the current government, with the current plans that they have in place. They've allowed the buildup of ISIS. We know that Joe Biden, when he left Afghanistan in that embarrassing way 3 years ago now, really left us, in such a bad spot on the world stage, but also gave all of our equipment to the terrorists over in Afghanistan. And now you have ISIS back on the rise. There's literally a map that they have out there. The Daily Mail put out a map. This is how bad it's gotten, where you can see how illegal immigration and gang invasion because of the illegal immigration has affected your community. For example, you have a lot of ISIS members apparently in Los Angeles, Venezuelan sex traffickers in Texas, and Chinese drug lords in Maine. They literally allow you to go on and check if your neighborhood has a violent enclave that has sprung up, Mehek. The fact that we have maps out there like this, we're not talking about some faraway land. We're not talking about Afghanistan, which is, feels like a world away from America. This is in people's backyards now. And it's all, sunshine, lollipops, and rainbows that the Democrats can sing about everything's great. But whenever you don't feel safe in your community anymore, whenever life is really much harder for you and things are moving in the wrong direction, I just feel that they can't continue to lie their way out of this. We've literally got an interactive map put out by the Daily Mail to see whether you have Venezuelan sex traffickers or ISIS members or Chinese drug lords in your backyard, Mehek.
This is a very terrifying time for every single American when we are no longer safe, when we don't have a secure and safe border. And let me be clear, Joe Biden and Biden Democrats did this. They opened a border. This is a man-made Joe Biden crisis. And he literally, the day he came into office, took out every single executive order that President Trump had. We had safety, security, and you said it, world peace. We weren't sitting here thinking about terrorists in our country. We knew who was coming in and who was leaving. And today, it is so bad that our national security is at risk. We're constantly being told by DHS that we have known gotaways. So the over 200 plus terrorists. What about the ones we don't have? 8 were caught. We don't know. And by the way, why isn't the FBI database working? Why isn't Department of Homeland Security able to flag these people? It's because Border Patrol have turned into babysitters. I visited McAllen, Texas, and the southern border. They sit there, they process these individuals, and they put them on a plane to anywhere in America. So they're in Ohio where I live, they're in New York where you live, they're across our country. They're threatening the way that we live. This one pill can kill fentanyl. It's being laced in every single opiate out there. We have to start pushing back. And Biden, all he did was a political stunt. He signs an executive order telling the American people, I'm now allowing illegal immigration. I'm allowing 2,500 people a day to come in. And what's shocking is, again, who has the clicker? Who's sitting there counting how many individuals are coming in? So he has allowed the death and destruction of our country. And it's only a matter of time before we are at a potential 9/11 type crisis. And it's a ticking bomb. When are the terrorists going to strike again? That's what Biden is. He is allowed. He's a Hamas sympathizer. He's a terrorist sympathizer. He allowed this to happen.
It's really only a matter of time. And if you look at the numbers, people, Mary, want this dealt with. People are very much in favor. A CBS News poll actually had 62% approval from American voters for deportations of people, because I think there's only so long that you can allow something like this to fester before it really starts to impact everybody's day-to-day lives. If you look at the numbers, non-citizens in 2018 even accounted for 64% of arrests for federal offenses. That is a full 180-degree reversal from 20 years prior in 1998. So you couple the fact that I'm sure that number has gone up. That was in 2018. And we know that you had the most secure border in decades under Donald Trump's presidency. Now, with all of these people flowing in, Americans are like, we got to do something. And so the fact that 62% of them, Mary, are in favor of deportations, that speaks volumes. I think that obviously you see Joe Biden panicking and the Democrats like, oh, we've got to tell him that he's got to secure the border now. Like, oh, we're idiots and we don't know that this is all about pandering to people for an election. We know what this is about, but I think it's too late. Do you think that will impact people, the fact that Biden is sort of suggesting that he's going to do something about it, or is it already baked in, do you think?
No, I think it's already baked in. I think that whenever you look and you watch your own neighborhoods changing and, just the demographic and the safety and everything that's going on. I mean, I live here in Texas. It feels like there isn't a day that goes by that there's not some sort of Amber Alert for a child being taken or,
Wow.
and it's really actually very jarring. We had 2 yesterday on Father's Day, which, obviously hits home a little bit more. And then you couple that with the fact that Biden signs this executive order that is doing absolutely nothing, is continuing to allow the border to be open, and then he slow walks an announcement about how he's going to give amnesty to thousands and thousands of illegal immigrants. I mean, what strategist is inside his office going, you know what will be a really good idea? There's this poll out here that shows that Americans are actually in favor of deportation. And I mean, which is such a flip-flop from whenever Trump was in office. I mean, if you remember, even, people in the Republican Party were like, oh, you can't separate families and you're doing all this wrong. And
AOC
I remember
crying down there
crying
at
at the border.
Where's she been?
Exactly. And so to go from that to now having a 62% supporting, rate of Americans going, no, we want these people out of our country, to then Biden going, I know it will help this. We're going to go ahead and give them amnesty. It's like, and what reality does he think that this is going to solve his border crisis problem? The only thing to do is to shut the doors, give ICE the teeth back that they desperately need. I read a statistic the other day that each ICE agent has over 7,000 cases that they have to deal with. It's like, how is a person able to process 7,000 cases and do a great job on every one of them? It's impossible, right? Yeah. And so he's setting them up for failure. We've dealt with a lot of these ICE agents. Most of the people, especially on the border, are great people that do not want this happening. They're being stuck between a rock and a hard place. And Biden is essentially telling them, you either do this or you're out, type of thing. And it's a sad moment in our country. I mean, I live here in Dallas. You see it all the time. We talk about terrorist attacks. We're trying to build, our own version of the New York Stock Exchange here in Dallas. It's supposed to be up and running by 2026. And I think to myself, all they're doing is putting a larger target on the backs of Dallasites as we sit here and we try and, make it through. It's like that 9/11 thing all over again. What's going to end up happening? Maybe it doesn't happen in New York. Maybe it happens in Dallas. And that's a scary thought.
Oh, it's all so scary. So anyone who knows me, Mehek, knows that I'm a huge history buff, and one of the specific times in the history of the world that I'm very fascinated with and that I love learning more about, getting more information on, reading more books, watching more documentaries on is World War II. I think it was just one of the craziest times in the history of the world. Obviously, World War II. And so there's a docu-series that presented itself to me on Netflix. It's called Hitler and the Nazis, Evil on Trial. The director's Joe Berlinger, I believe is how you pronounce his name. Now, this docu-series was filled with all kinds of information, things that I hadn't heard before, a lot of great colorized clips of Hitler, of all of his henchmen, of just different parts of Europe during the war. And I started watching it, and often I travel a lot. And so if I'm trying to read more when I travel, but sometimes I'm just like, let me flip something on my phone. Let me download something. So I download this docu-series, and what became very apparent to me is, I forgot. We're in an election year. We need some Hollywood propaganda to kind of stir people up. Because if you were thinking about voting for Donald Trump and you watch this docu-series, you very quickly realize they're trying to draw, Mehek, a direct line between Adolf Hitler and Donald Trump. So, and I was so disappointed because I was really honestly thoroughly enjoying all of the things. They literally start in like Hitler's early days, and you learn about his youth growing up and kind of what led him to become this horrific figure that he became. And every now and again, they would drop things in, like one guy in there, and I quickly looked this guy up on X, and in his bio, it's got something nasty about Trump. I'm like, oh, Shocker. They continue to use the term "make Germany great again," and I'm like, oh, I see what's going on here. They try to connect the Eagle's Nest, I believe it's called, or one of the Hitler's kind of locations where he spent a lot of time, to Mar-a-Lago. Why can't we, Mehek, just get information? These people literally trying to connect Donald Trump to Adolf Hitler. First of all, it's disgusting and ridiculous in every possible sense. But here's a comment from, I believe this is one of the people who watched this. It said, "It made me honestly terrified. You could easily swap Trump, MAGA, and America in, and it felt like we were just in the very early stages of the Nazi playbook that ultimately ended in destruction for so many people. You can't deny the parallels." Are you kidding me, Mehek? Wow.
But this has been happening for so long. When you disagree with Democrats, they demonize you, they beat you down, and then you're racist. Everything the Democrats accuse us of, they are doing. Democrats are the iron-fisted party, and we are truly the party of freedom. And it never, ever ceases to amaze me that Hollywood continues to lie. This is just another documentary that I find extremely disturbing and troubling, because they're trying to divide us and conquer. In this situation, what's happening today, what they are blaming President Trump of, this is Joe Biden's America, right? I mean, just look at the action. Traditional Americans and nuclear families are now scared. You can't say you believe in God. You can't talk about unborn babies being babies. You can't talk about what a real woman is. The minute you do, transgender activists come out after you and come out after your children. You can't even talk about protecting Jewish students to go into classrooms. Biden turned into a Hamas cheerleader. They are a terrorist organization that he allowed to champion and overrun some of the most prestigious schools across the United States. So every single time they beat us down and they say, well, you're like a Nazi, it's what Joe Biden has done. He silenced us. He used the Department of Justice to run against the biggest election. I mean, this is what election interference is. When you criticize law and order and you say, go after Trump, lock him up so I can run for election. I mean, what are we talking about here? And look, this is unfolding because we're constantly seeing that we are being demonized as freedom-loving Americans, and we've had enough of Joe Biden's policies. This is all going to backfire. And when you make a mockery of Republicans or people that love freedom and call us Nazis, it's not going to work. These are the middle of the road, independent moms, homemakers that just want to be able to feed their families, that want to be able to talk about God, that want to protect their children. This is backfiring, Laura. This is not the way. And they don't know, these Democrats really don't know how to debate. All they do is throw the word racist or now call us Nazis. I was on a platform the other day talking about President Trump, and immediately the hate mail I got was, I must have been a Nazi soldier. Nazi soldier, being born in India, coming to America, living the American dream with under the greatest president in my father's lifetime and my lifetime. And I'm the Nazi because I'm celebrating progress for my family. When my father came in with $80 in his pocket, this is the Democrats we're talking about today. So this is only going to backfire. This is just sickening to me.
It's just so disappointing, Mary, to me. Because I really, like, sometimes you need an escape. And I truly need an escape. And I know it's kind of like crazy. My escape is to like go watch a World War II docuseries. But I'm inundated all day, every day with politics. It's literally my life, for the next 5 months, less than 5 months. Everybody get ready. I need a little escape. And so then to start watching this and realize that they're literally trying to associate Donald Trump with the largest monstrosity, this figure of Adolf Hitler, the guy who's caused the Holocaust, the guy who tried to take over the entirety of Europe, this absolute villain with Donald Trump. Are you kidding me? To Mehek's point, if anyone is trying to thwart democracy and our democratic process here in America, it's the Democrats with their election interference, with the way they've weaponized the Department of Justice against Joe Biden's #1 political opponent, Donald Trump. Guess what Donald Trump wants to do? When he gets back in office, he wants to give us more of our freedoms, not less. He wants to deregulate stuff, not regulate things. The idea that there is any parallel to be drawn between Donald Trump and Adolf Hitler is disgraceful and disgusting. Mehek is right. They're going to continue to do this because this is all they have. But I hope if anybody out there stumbles across this docuseries, you were able to get through it and not just totally shut it off. And actually, it's a shame because there was a lot of information in there and things that, I think a lot of people, they had the Nuremberg trials, things that people would want to hear. I was just so upset that they can't help themselves. This is all they do. And this has been in the works for probably over a year to put this thing together, maybe more, with the idea in mind. Let's release it right before the 2024 election to try and make sure that people understand that if you elect Donald Trump, he could put people in concentration camps. It's ridiculous. It's totally absurd, Mary. And the fact that people do this, I think it's really sad, and it's such a shame that they continue to beat this drum.
Yeah, and it's literally no wonder why Hollywood is falling as far as it is every single month. I mean, they can't put a movie out with having some sort of left-wing bias to it. And the viewers are just shutting it out. Just like you said, you watch it and you immediately see what they're trying to do. And you just go, gosh, why did you have to ruin a good thing?
Yeah.
I was very much looking forward to being a part of, your viewership and enjoying this ride with you. And you've just ruined it. We saw it with Disney. We saw it with any rom-com where all of a sudden it's like this feminist trope about how this woman can't be with the man anymore because she's got to be with herself. It's all of these types of things. But then I think that we're living on the other side of The Boy Who Cried Wolf, that has used this same type of hit job for so long, as Mehek said. And so we're sitting there and we're watching them call Republicans and people that are just normal everyday Americans racists and Nazis, and you like Trump, you must be a sympathizer for the Nazi regime, and all of these things. We've all heard it. We've all been called it, even just by our own family members. And so you sit back and you go, this doesn't hurt me anymore. Like you said, we have so many calluses on our face, it doesn't hurt. Yeah. And I think it's also waking up those middle ground voters. I read a thing from David Sachs, Bill Mitchell, and a couple other Silicon Valley guys who are now supporting Donald Trump. And, they're going back and rewatching the whole video of the Charlottesville, find people on both sides thing. Yeah. And it's there's 2 points to be made about this. One, they should have known from the very beginning, being smart guys, that this was a sham. They should have known. How do you get the wool pulled over your eyes in such a strong way like that? But then two, if you go back and you watch anything that Trump has said or anything that Republicans have said over the past 4 or 5 years as they've been demonized in such a terrible way, you can see that the context is always removed whenever the Democrats want to put it in. It's just like the hoax that just went through about Milwaukee. Yeah. And, you have them posting that Trump says he hates Milwaukee. And it's like, it goes off like a firestorm. And now Biden's taken a full page ad in Milwaukee saying Biden has done this for Milwaukee and Trump says he hates it here. And it's like, that's not what happened. But you know what? Low information people are going to take that and they're going to run with it. But I think that where we are in our country now is that there is hardly a low information voter. People are so polarized and so on board. I mean, I know family members in my own circle who have never voted in their life, who are going out and voting in this election because it has been such a wake-up call for them. They did in 2020, they were arguing with me about COVID and whether or not the election was stolen. And now in 2024, they're calling me going, did you hear about this on the radio? Oh. It's things like that that give me hope. It's things like that that make me say, okay, even the so-called normies are waking up and understanding where we are. The conviction was such a big deal to a lot of people, a lot more people than the Democrats could have ever, even understood or saw in their glass ball. It woke up a lot of people.
And we have to be awake. We have to be involved. Yeah. We cannot sit this election out. You
really can't.
You can't. Anybody out there, please get involved. Please come. If you want to be a volunteer on that election integrity team that I mentioned before, protectthevote.com. We would love to have you on the team. It'll take everyone who actually cares about fairness and transparency in our elections to ensure that indeed we have a fair and transparent election in 2024. The Charlottesville thing, Mary, is one of those things for me that has made me so crazy for years. Yeah. Because I remember I wasn't physically there for that speech. And I remember I actually heard about it on TV, right? And so when I watched it on TV initially, I was like, oh my God, like, why did he say that? And then I said, wait a minute. let me get the full scope of what happened here. And the second I went and watched it, and for anybody out there wondering what Donald Trump actually said, is he said there were very fine people on both sides, of course, meaning the historians, the people who wanted to keep the statues up because they had some historical meaning to them, and very fine people on the other side, people who felt like that it was time that they went away, that they really wanted to see them gone. Those are both fine people. That's where they cut it whenever you watch the news clips of it. But what he said immediately afterwards, he said, except for the neo-Nazis and white supremacists who should be condemned totally. They cut that out, and they cut it out, Mary, on purpose because they wanted to paint Donald Trump as akin to Adolf Hitler, as a guy who thinks somehow that siding with neo-Nazis and white supremacists is a great thing. Of course he doesn't believe that. And the second I went back and watched it, I was infuriated because they are not giving the actual information out there to the people of this country. They are tailoring little clips and little bites of information so that you don't have the full scope of what is going on. Stay informed, do your own research, get out there and actually look things up if you really want to know the truth about something. Because if you're relying on the mainstream media to do it, I hate to tell you, you are never going to get the full scope of what is going on. Ladies, I had so much more. I had like 6 more topics I wanted to talk about, but we really got in depth and I loved it. Mehek, thank you. Mary, thank you. We loved having you both for the first time here at The Right View. We hope you will come back and join us again. That's going to do it for us today for this episode of The Right View Ladies Tea. To everybody at home, make sure you like, subscribe, share, and follow, and we'll see you back here next time for more of The Right View.
And I won't back down. Hey, baby, there ain't no easy way out.
Nothing is worse than being on a phone call that drops. Nothing is worse than trying to text someone and you can't reach them because your phone is out of service range. And nothing is worse than supporting these major corporations and companies who don't support us. That is why I love Patriot Mobile. They are America's only Christian conservative wireless network. They use every cell tower out there available to all networks so that they have the greatest 4G and 5G coverage nationwide, and they support the causes that are important to us as conservatives. If you go today to patriotmobile.com/Lara Trump and use the promo code Trump, you will get free activation today. Again, that is patriotmobile.com/Lara Trump. The promo code is Trump for free activation so that you can get a great cell plan and feel good about doing it.